Ambassador Zekthor's three eyes blinked in sequence as he reviewed the dossier for the seventh time. The holographic display flickered with data that should have been impossible. Humans. The newest species to stumble into faster-than-light travel, and somehow the most concerning file to cross his desk in 4 centuries of diplomatic service. They've been spacefaring for how long? Council member Irlin asked, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into dancing patterns across the walls. 52 of their years, Zekthor replied, his mandibles clicking nervously. Less than a standard galactic cycle. The council chamber fell silent. Species typically took 3 to 5 cycles just to establish basic interstellar infrastructure. Humans had gone from their first warp drive to establishing colonies on 17 worlds in the time it took most species to build a single space station. That's not the concerning part, Military Assessor Krath rumbled, his massive form shifting in the reinforced chair designed to hold his species' bulk. He gestured, and the display shifted to combat footage. 3 months ago, the Zelthian Corsairs attacked a human mining colony. Population: 4,000 civilians, 12 security officers. The footage played. The Corsairs, one of the galaxy's most feared pirate fleets, descended on the small human settlement with overwhelming force. What should have been a massacre turned into something else entirely. The humans didn't surrender. They didn't even try to negotiate. Within hours, the miners had turned industrial equipment into weapons. Ore processors became railguns. Mining charges became improvised explosives. Excavation mechs became war machines. The security officers organized the civilians with a precision that suggested military training was somehow universal among these creatures. By the time human military ships arrived 3 days later, the Corsairs had lost half their fleet. Not to warships, to miners. They're calling it the Helio Stand, Krath continued. The human military awarded medals to the survivors for exemplary defense. This is apparently normal behavior for them. Irlin's form pulsed with disbelief. Civilians fought off Corsairs? That's not possible. The Corsairs have been raiding for 2,000 years. It gets worse, Zekthor said, pulling up another file. We've analyzed their history. In the past 5,000 years of their recorded civilization, they've had only 3 centuries where they weren't at war with themselves. They've survived 6 extinction-level events, 2 of which they caused themselves. They've turned their own planet's most inhospitable regions into tourist destinations. They have a sport called free solo climbing, where they scale vertical rock faces without safety equipment for entertainment. Suicidal species aren't uncommon, another council member noted. They're not suicidal, Krath interrupted. They have the lowest species-wide mortality rate of any civilization we've encountered. Their medicine is terrifyingly advanced because they've spent millennia finding creative ways to almost die, then learning how to fix it. They don't have a concept of acceptable losses in their rescue operations. There's a documented case of them spending 3 billion credits to save a single individual trapped in a collapsed mine. Zekthor pulled up more data. Their ships are concerning as well. While other species optimize for efficiency and safety, humans build redundant systems upon redundant systems. Their military vessels can lose 70% functionality and still complete missions. We intercepted a damaged human cargo ship last cycle. It had been struck by an asteroid, lost main power, and was leaking atmosphere. The crew had jury-rigged life support using the ship's food synthesizer and were manually calculating a trajectory home using paper and primitive mathematics. Did they make it? Irlin asked. They did. When we offered assistance, they thanked us and asked if we needed any help. The council chamber erupted in chittering, humming, and the various other sounds of mixed species disbelief. There's more, Zekthor continued. Their entertainment media. We've analyzed thousands of hours. A significant portion involves scenarios of their own extinction, which they then solve through increasingly improbable means. They have entire genres dedicated to survival against impossible odds. They consider stories where everyone survives and nothing goes wrong to be boring. He pulled up one final file. This is from their planet, Earth. They have a saying, Hold my beer. Linguistic analysts believe it roughly translates to, observe while I attempt something inadvisable. It's typically said before a human does something that would make most sentient species flee in terror. They have millions of video recordings of such incidents. They share them, for humor. Krath leaned forward. We need to address the central question. Are humans a threat to galactic stability? The council members looked at each other. The evidence was overwhelming. A species that treated extinction-level dangers as minor inconveniences. That could turn any situation into a combat scenario. That had more cultural experience with warfare than most species had with agriculture. That considered sending individuals into the vacuum of space a routine occupation. They've been invited to join the council, Yerlin said quietly. The ambassadors arrive next cycle. What do we tell them? Zekthor closed the file and looked at his fellow council members. We tell them the truth. The council has designated humanity as a Class 7 extinction risk. We list them alongside stellar collapse events and galaxy-scale pandemics. And when they ask how they should interpret this designation, another member asked. Zekthor's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. We've already received a response from their diplomatic corps. They sent a single message. Accurate. Would you like us to help with the other 6? The council chamber fell silent again. Finally, Krath spoke. I move that we accept humanity's council application immediately and assign them to the Threat Response Division. The vote was unanimous. As the council adjourned, Zekthor pulled up one last file, a human phrase that their philosophers apparently lived by. We didn't claw our way to the top of Earth's food chain to be mediocre at the galactic level. He closed the file and prepared for the human ambassador's arrival. The galaxy, he reflected, was about to become a much more interesting place, and possibly a much safer one, assuming humanity decided that everyone else was worth protecting. Given their history, that seemed likely. Humans, it appeared, collected endangered species. The rest of the galaxy was about to become their latest adoption project. Zekthor just hoped they survived the experience.